So just a brief overview of today's agenda. Joining us today from King County are myself and my coworker Rebecca Roy from the Department of Community and Human Services. Additionally, we have Mark Konechny and Francis Cummings Tucker from King County Metro. Curious about who's all joining us today, and so we're going to do a quick little poll here, and the question is going to be, what type of program and agency are you affiliated with? And so you should be able to just provide us with a quick answer so we can kind of get a sense of what sort of organizations are joining us today. The bus ticket program last year served over 200 organizations located in every single zip code in King County, and a huge range of nonprofits participate in the program every year, so it's always interesting to see. It looks like other is the leading category so far, and we maybe need to add some more categories to our poll next time. But a lot of housing and shelter providers, as you can see, and outreach providers, and government agencies all participate in the program. Additionally, we'll do another quick poll here where we can find out how long you or your agency have participated in the program. Or maybe not. I guess I don't have. Oh, here we go. How long you've participated in the program? So how many years have you or your agency been part of the program? The program started in 1993, so it's possible that that your agency's been doing it for more than 26 years, although I don't have the knowledge to know if anyone has actually participated every year. But looks like we definitely have some people who have been participating for more than 25 years, which is really, or more than 10 years, up to 25 years. And we also have some new participants, but the most groups are in the 3 to 5 year range. So that's really great that we have so many people returning, and also people who are interested for the first time. So it's great to have that mix of folks. So today we'll cover the eligibility for the bus ticket program. We will take some time to talk about the agency agreements that are signed, the application process, and details around purchasing tickets. You'll notice we have 3 Q&A times sort of built into the agenda. So we'd ask that you put your questions into that Q&A at any point, and we'll pause during those 3 question and answer periods and answer your questions. So you can ask anytime if you are able. It's great to sort of ask them in the order of the agenda, but also we can sort through things and make sure that we answer it when it's appropriate. So as I said, the program was started in '93. We served 200 agencies last year. It's actually part of King County Code, the program is, and Council sets aside for the past few years a little over $440,000, which is the equivalent of $4.4 million in face value of tickets. And you should have received these slides in email, but I will resend them to you after the webinar if you want to see them again.
Charles, just letting you know you sound really far away. That just started.
No problem. Is that any better now?
There we are, loud and clear.
So the program provides discounted bus tickets to human services agencies for distribution to individuals who are low income and or experiencing homelessness. The program is administered by 2 parts of King County. One is Metro, and as I said, our friends Francis and Mark from Metro are joining us today, and they handle the sorts of nuts and bolts of ticketing. And then Rebecca Roy and myself from DCHS handle the RFP and monitoring process. We have a website where you are able to find a lot of the documents that we'll refer to today, as well as other information about the program. And it's on the King County website. This is just a shortened URL. But you're welcome to visit it, and you can find information about the RFP and eligibility and previous awards and a variety of other pieces of information. So to be eligible, you must be a nonprofit. You must serve people who are experiencing homelessness and or low income. The income standards we'll get into later, and also the definition of homelessness that we use. You must be able to give out the tickets to individuals for services critical to personal and residential stability. So that could be doctor's appointments, job search, medical appointments, really a broad range of purposes. And we ask that you purchase tickets by September of 2021 and distribute them by the end of 2021. For those of you that participated this year, you'll know it was really a different year because of COVID, where fares were not collected for, I think, 6 months about of the year. And so purchasing wasn't really necessary because there was no need for tickets. So this year we actually didn't have that deadline, but we do anticipate having a sort of more regular year next year, and we will have that September purchasing deadline at this point. If you participated last year in the bus ticket program, you need to have turned in your completed usage logs for January to June of 2020. And if you have any questions about that, you can email us later and we can help you figure out if it's been submitted. You have to sign an agreement in order to participate, and it requires that you submit a policies and procedures document, which we provide a template for, and you can plug in your agency's specific information. After awards are made, we'll ask that you sign a memorandum of agreement with DCHS and also return a signature list, which we'll go into a little more detail later. But the signature list is a list of individuals who are authorized by your agency to purchase human services tickets. And so Metro will keep that signature list on their end, and when your purchaser comes to get tickets, it's a way so they can verify that they're selling them to someone who is supposed to be purchasing for your agency. The program has some other requirements, and that is that you should disperse tickets to intended recipients only, so no staff or volunteers or interns. And that includes giving tickets in exchange for client volunteer work. We ask the tickets be distributed in an equitable way and not based on someone's labor for any reason. So you're welcome to give tickets if you have clients who volunteer, but it shouldn't be a direct exchange for the work that they're doing for your programs. Keep tickets safe and locked away in a file cabinet or a secure office space. Each ticket needs to be documented on a client level log that tells us what kind of ticket was given, to who it was given, and what the purpose of the ticket was, and the date. And then that information needs to be rolled up by your agency into a semi-annual report of all the tickets given in that semi-annual period. If tickets are lost or stolen, which can happen, you need to file a report. We have a lost stolen report on our website you can find within 3 days of discovering that tickets were missing or stolen. Again, purchase needs to be by September. And if you want to put that in your calendar, that's a great way to remember to make your purchase by that time. You can purchase multiple times throughout the year, so you don't have to purchase them all in one batch. So you can buy them monthly or twice a year. It's really up to what fits your agency's needs the best. Typically, although we didn't this year because of COVID and the lack of fares, but typically we have a reallocation round after that September deadline where we take awards that are unspent by agencies and offer them to agencies that might have an additional need for tickets. So we have that purchasing deadline so we can really maximize use of the program, make sure that the tickets are being spent out and making it out to the community. So next we'll go into the RFP process, but are there any questions about eligibility
Yeah, so Charles, we had 2 questions in the chat. I'm not going to ask them in order, but one of the questions was if a federal government agency that's part of the U.S. courts, do they qualify? So the answer I submitted was yes, government agencies are eligible to apply.
Yeah.
And then another question was asked about for the semi-annual usage logs, those roll-up logs, when should those be submitted? The 2020 log, when should that be submitted? And the answer being the January through June 2020 log was due on by July 31st of 2020. It's not too late to turn it in. Usage logs are submitted through Zoom grants. And then the remainder of the 2020 year, so the July through December 2020 log is due, I believe, by January 31st, 2021. And then we have another question from Cricket, who asked, if we received bus tickets in the past but did not this year, do we need to do a new MOA? So the question is, another way to ask the question is a new MOA required every year? And the answer is yes.
The answer is yes, and a new MOA and new signature list of your authorized purchasers is required every year that you participate in the program. Good questions.
And then another question is, if we don't disperse all of our tickets for the 2020 program, can they be carried over to the 2021 program?
Yeah, this is a good question. Did you type an answer in the chat, Rebecca?
I did not yet.
Okay. It's a good question. It's come up a lot this year because, again, because of COVID, a lot of agencies actually had a sort of a surplus of tickets because there was no need for tickets for much of the year on Metro. So we ask that you do your best to distribute them within the year. We don't want to see tickets being stockpiled and sitting in a file drawer somewhere and not being used. So we really want to make sure that they're being, pushed out into the community in a timely manner. That being said, King County Metro bus tickets don't expire, so they will maintain the value on the face value of the ticket and can be distributed in future years. A possible issue with having tickets from previous years is Metro does periodically change fares, although we haven't heard they're doing that anytime soon. But when fares change, then you can end up with a ticket that doesn't actually cover the full fare of a trip. So there's some drawbacks to sort of having a large, stockpile or surplus of tickets. But we also understand that it's impossible to know exactly what you're going to need to the ticket, and that you might end up with some extras, and we'd certainly want those to be used. The other thing I would say for this previous program year in particular, again, because of COVID, if your agency is underspent at this point in time, I would encourage you to make a purchase and distribute the tickets this year if you can. So I think if you maybe change your the way you prioritize ticket distribution to give out more tickets, if your agency can afford that, I think that's a really great option, at least temporarily. I think if you can give out more tickets than you have been giving out, then that's a great use of resources. And then you can still make an ask for this coming program year for additional tickets for next year. Rebecca, do you have anything to add to that?
I would just note that in a typical year, Metro-only tickets definitely can roll over and can be used in the next program year, with the exception, so that's a Metro-only ticket. Sound Transit tickets in a typical year do not roll over. They expire at the end of the year in which they were purchased. And that includes the combo ticket, which is a Metro plus Sound Transit ticket. However, I believe it might be later in the presentation you'll talk about, Charles, COVID related exceptions, or is now an okay time?
Yeah, no, I think now's a good time. And what Rebecca was going to say, I think, is that for this past year, Sound Transit has agreed to exchange tickets that expire at the end of 2020 for tickets that will expire at the end of 2021. So if your agency currently has Sound Transit tickets that you purchased in 2020, you'll be able to exchange them for tickets for next year, and it won't count, against your allocation next year. I don't know, Mark or Francis, do you have any specifics around that Sound Transit ticket exchange that you all would want to share? Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that the agreement is that we'll exchange full ticket books, not partial tickets. So if they have like 5 tickets or 4 tickets, then they're not, because we can only do full books at a time. And the other one is the sorry, it just slipped my mind. It'll come back. The ticket books will not be available until December. Usually we don't get them until late December, but you can contact me, no problem, ahead of time to if you do have the tickets that you need or questions about the replacement process. But we don't get any tickets till the end of the year.
Great, thanks. And that's for Sound Transit tickets only from this year. So we anticipate that exchange won't be an opportunity for tickets purchased in 2021, but it was sort of an exception this year. So.
Okay. There are a few other questions, but I'm going to only go for 2 more just so we can keep moving. And for folks who are not hearing their question be answered, know that it will be answered by the end of the meeting today. So one of the questions is around COVID concerns and whether staff are allowed to sign initials for guests, like when tickets are handed out in the log. If you can go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, so I'll start with how we normally would ask you to complete those client level logs. And normally we would ask that the client initial that they received the ticket and are eligible by being either low income or experiencing homelessness. Because of COVID, we obviously wanted to reduce the risk associated with having pens and pieces of paper shared and having the client initial a piece of paper. So since March, I think 1st, we have provided guidance that you are welcome to have your staff complete that initial column on the form where the client would have put their initials. And that exception is still in place. And we, at this point, we're not making it a permanent change, but I anticipate that as long as we have COVID present, that exception will be made.
Okay. I'm actually going to ask that we move along. I will be responding to some of the questions which are similar to ones that have already been answered. So we can go ahead and move forward.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to the RFP application process. As you all know, today is November 10th, and so we are about 8 days into the open application period. The request for proposals closes on November 20th. The deadline for contacting us to get technical assistance is November 18th, so 2 days prior to the closing of the RFP. The RFP has about 10 questions. If you're a first-time applicant, there's a variety of questions that don't apply to you that are related to previous program years. There's one document you need to upload, and that is your policies and procedures document. And we provide a template that you can use to plug in your information specific to your agency. You're also welcome to make other edits if there's specific things that you think you need in there. That's fine, but we do have a template that will cover all the general program requirements. To access the application, you can go to our website that will link directly to the RFP. It's also on the our division's RFP and funding page, but I think the easiest way is to get directly from the...
Charles, you're cutting out a little bit, or fading in and out a little bit.
Okay.
There you go. Now you're back.
So yeah, the best way to access is directly through the Human Services bus ticket website. Applications are submitted through Zoom Grants. We've used Zoom Grants for 3 years now. Each account is owned by a single user with a single email address. So that owner is sort of the primary contact in your agency. They can grant access to the application, and we'll go through this in some detail, but they can grant access to other individuals so that they're able to edit the application. But the account owner, that primary person, is the only one that can actually click the submit button. So it's important that whoever is the primary account owner is available to actually submit your application. We know that turnover is a real thing for nonprofits, and we encourage you, if you're able to, create one central email address that maybe can be shared between a variety of people at your organization. So it could be a general email like info at nonprofit.org, or you could add special like bus tickets at nonprofit.org and provide account access to a variety of folks in your organization who need access to bus tickets. So after you complete your application, we will ask, and we typically award most applicants, not necessarily the full request, but at least some award. After you've been awarded, we ask that you sign a memorandum of agreement and submit semi-annual logs. And that all will occur again within Zoom Grants. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to show you live Zoom Grants, but it's actually been unfortunately kind of slow, the website has. So we might need to change course if it's just too slow to function well. So I just clicked the link, and this takes you to the Human Services bus ticket website. And after some introductory information, you can see there's a link here to apply, and that will take us to Zoom Grants. Which is, as I said, a little slow today. So when you click that RFP link, it'll bring you to the Zoom Grants page where you will see the 2020 RFP for 2021. From this page, you can preview the application, which is a good way to kind of take a look at and sort of get an overview of what the questions are and what information we're collecting. And you're able to view all the introductory information about the RFP, as well as the instructions and the questions that will be asked of your agency. Assuming you are interested in applying, then you will need to create a Zoom Grants account. And I emailed at about 12 o'clock today a Zoom Grants login information that will help guide you through some of the Zoom Grants process. But we will try to, okay. So click apply, you would click create application, or you would create an account here if you don't have one, and then create an application. I already have an account, so I'm gonna log in. It is normally a little faster. I think this last 2 weeks it's been real slow. I guess they have a lot of various applications in process right now. So I already started an application for this. Sorry. I already started an application for this program. But as you go through, there'll be information about the application process, some of the key dates that we already talked about. And then we'll get into the agency request. And this is where you would put the amount that of value of tickets that you want. And we'll go into more detail about what the allotment request is versus the face value. So the face value is what the full price of the tickets you're purchasing would be. The amount requested or allotment is the 10% of the cost of the face value that your agency would actually be paying for the tickets. Some basic information about your agency and executive director. This here is where you can add someone else from your agency as a collaborator. So that person can come in and edit the application, submit semi-annual usage logs, and do anything else that you need to do in Zoom Grants. Again, that collaborator can't submit. So you're gonna wanna make sure that the person who can submit is able and ready to do that. There's 10 questions. And I won't walk through all of them, but we ask, where your programs are. If you're a large agency with multiple programs, we have you list them here. What council districts, King County council districts you operate in, how many unduplicated clients you serve, how the tickets will be used, and what percentage of individuals you serve are low income or homeless. And we have a couple of equity and social justice questions related to, again, to sort of what groups of folks you give tickets to. And then we have some confirmations here that are mostly for agencies that participated last year, but you should look through all of them, just certifying that the information you're providing is accurate. And then an opportunity for any comments or questions. And yeah. And then finally, there is this policy and procedures document, which you will upload in the template. I'll just open it real quick. The template is linked here, so you can open that and then edit it to meet your agency's specific needs and then upload it again on this side. Important aspect of using Zoom Grants is the submit button is right here, and you can submit the application. Well, I didn't complete all the fields, but you can submit the application at any time. And I would encourage you to submit sooner rather than later, because after you submit, you can still go in and edit the application up until the deadline closes. So, hitting submit just guarantees you're not going to forget that final step. right before the deadline, but you still have the opportunity to make changes and you don't have to resubmit it. It just will automatically save. I forgot to mention, all the fields in Zoom Grants will auto-save. So when you type into a field, there's no like save button. You just click outside of the text box and you'll see this saving sign, which when the website is working well, it actually only appears for about a quarter of a second, but it's a little longer today. So all the fields save in that manner.
Charles, you're fading in and out of closeness.
Okay, I don't know what
It's better now.
to do. It's right. I have it right in my mouth. So, okay, yes, that's kind of the application. Zoom Grants can provide you with assistance around like technical issues with Zoom Grants, like the website's not working, and you can submit a help ticket, and they also have a help section on their website with a lot of helpful articles that you can review. If you have questions about the content of your application, you can contact Rebecca and I primarily through the bus ticket program email. And those questions are open until November 18th, which is 2 days before the RFP closes. And again, just, get an early start now and give yourself time so you're not pushing up against the final minute to submit your application. Okay, any RFP specific questions?
We sure do have some questions. I'm not going to ask the question the way it was worded, but what I will ask is that you please, Charles, go to the, I think back to Zoom Grants. And the question is around the amount requested. And can you clarify if that's face value or whether what the agency pays? So the full value of the ticket, or are you asking agencies to request that 10% amount that they themselves pay?
Yeah, so we're asking for both. So the first field in the request is agency allotment, and that is the 10% amount that your agency will pay for tickets. The next field is the face value, and we're asking that you, here you put in what the face value of the ticket would be. So if my agency wanted $1,000 worth of bus tickets in value, we would put $100 into the agency allotment, and that means we're going to pay $100, and what we're going to get in face value is 1,000 tickets, which I would fill in there, but it's saving slowly. So this would be 1,000. And the reason we ask for both of those is because we just want to sort of make sure that your agency or your applicant understands that what your agency will really be paying out of pocket and what the value of the tickets you're receiving will be.
Thanks. Okay, and another question, and this probably will impact quite a few agencies, is around, some agencies have a surplus of tickets from this year because of the impact of COVID, which they intend to purchase and distribute in 2021. And so their ask for the 2021 RFP is likely to be smaller than in years prior. And what this agency is asking is, will this smaller ask affect future awards, given that typically the bus ticket awards are somewhat in line with prior asks? So the answer to that is that DCHS intends to take the impacts of COVID into account during future RFP rounds. So agencies aren't necessarily going to be penalized for requesting fewer in this year. We understand that there's a bigger thing at play. Okay, and then I have a couple other questions. One person is asking for further explanation, a little clarity about if the system, meaning Zoom Grants, is automatically saving information that is being updated, what is the point of hitting the submit button prior to the deadline date? So if I may, the answer is every year, it seems to be the case that there are some agencies who have gone through, created a beautiful application and failed to hit the submit button. And so we cannot receive their application. So the point of hitting the submit button early in the process is so that your agency doesn't run into any technical errors, or somebody's sick and forgets and thinks that, or thinks, hey, everything's filled out, it's submitted, even though it isn't. So submitting early, and then knowing that any of your updates, edits that you make along the way will be automatically saved in that submission is kind of the point there. We have another question. This one I'll punt to you, Charles, is, so we have two locations, the agency is saying we have two locations under two DBAs, two doing business as in King County. Would each site need to apply separately or as one application with two different program distributions?
So if it's just two different DBAs, you can apply as one agency, and you would put in both sites on, I was going to show on this question about where this question about list of programs that will benefit, you would list both those sites on that question.
Okay, and then another person just asked or said that they joined the meeting after it started. So we welcome you, those of you who attended after the meeting started. Thank you for being here. And the question is, will a recording of this meeting be sent out? And the answer is yes, a recording of this meeting will be made available. And then I have a question here from Lonnie Taylor, and it is very specific to your agency. So Lonnie, I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we'll follow up with you directly after the meeting. And let me...
Rebecca, while you read the next question, I forgot to mention that in Zoom Grants, there's this Show Library tab. And in the library is a document of frequently asked questions that we will update consistently throughout the RFP period. And you'll find it has about 40, maybe 50 questions that are commonly asked, and it has a lot of information. So if you have a question, that's a great place to go first and see if someone else has already asked it.
Great. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and move forward.
So the next sort of section is about details around ticketing. And so we're going to turn to our friends at Metro, Francis and Mark, to help walk us through.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll be discussing ticketing details next, and with the ticketing details, we'll discuss, can I order human server tickets by mail? Can I just walk into Metro and purchase the tickets? What if I buy the wrong tickets? Can I exchange or return the tickets? So we'll be covering all of those things. Charles, can we go to the next? So before Metro will accept an agency's order, there are two things that must be completed and returned. And they are, one is the memorandum of agreement, and the other is to whom they are returned. So that would be your signature list. Next slide, please. So here we show that the memorandum of agreement is the DCHS you can do that via Zoom Grants. And the authorized signature list via mail or Metro in person. The original link, I'm sorry, just a moment. The original, you can give the original to us and with the ink signature. So that must be submitted every year. Next slide, please. So ticket orders purchased and picked up at Metro. The options would include, you could visit Metro's office during regular business hours at your convenience and pay for and pick up the tickets the same day. I would say please do anticipate a wait. And the other option is mail your ticket order form and payment to Metro. And it will be processed, the order will be processed, and we would call you when it was ready to pick up. The other option is you can drop off your ticket order form and payment in person during regular business hours, and then Metro will call when your tickets are ready. And then there will be, thank you. The other ticketing details for the 2021 program, the options to purchase via credit card. You will have that option this year, but I must caution you, please do not send your credit card information via email. It will not be accepted. And also a reminder that Metro has a fare change in July, had a fare change in July 2018, and we don't expect or anticipate another fare change in 2021. So you're good there. Here we have the human service ticket order form. And if you'll look at the highlighted areas, the Metro Transit fare shows you here what it is per trip. So you have the adult, which is $2.75, and the youth $1.50, and the senior disabled $1. If you go down below that, you'll see the book types, and it'll show you the 10% value, the quantity that you like to order, and then the total. You'll fill out that portion. And then also it shows the method of payment and the options that you have. And again, please do not send your credit card information via email. And yes, you can call ahead of time for to put your order in and come into our office and pick it up. So you have the information at the top of this form that is not highlighted. It gives you a telephone number that will go directly to myself, I'm Francis, and it also has a human service ticket email address. Next slide, please. Metro only ticket sales, understanding price paid versus allocation debit. So here's a scenario. If agency A awarded allocation of $55 and agency A would like to purchase 10 adult books, how much allocation would agency A have left over to purchase? So it shows you here where you can fill that information in with the 10% as we went over before in the order quantity. Charles, can we go to the next slide, please? So here it helps with the scenario of what we spoke about in the first portion. And if agency A will pay $5.50 for 10 adult books equaling $55, then agency A's allocation will be debited by $5.50 times adult books equaling $55. So the combination Metro Sound Transit link sales, understanding the prices paid versus the allocation. So if agency B ordered an allocation of $100, agency B would like to purchase 10 combo books. How much allocation will agency B have left after the purchase? Let's move to the next slide, please. It shows down here, I'm sorry, where the arrow is. So if you're wanting to purchase, if agency B is awarded an allocation of $100 and they would like to purchase 10 combo books, agency B would pay $6.50 times the 10 combo books, equaling $65. And agency B's allocation will be debited $8 times the 10 combo books, which would equal $80, leaving you with $20 left of your allocation. Next slide, please. And Sound Transit link all day only, understanding that price. Agency C awarded allocation of $100. If they're awarded a $100 allocation and Agency C would like to purchase 10 Sound Transit Link books, not combo, how much allocation would Agency C have left after purchase? Thank you, Charles. So Agency C will pay $650 times 10 Sound Transit Link books equaling $65. Agency C's allocation will not be debited. Sound Transit Link books do not count against allocation award. So there will be $100 left of the allocation. Next slide, please. Any questions? So here on the question portion, I'm going to ask Mark Connect Me to please join in and assist with that.
Sure. Before we start, I just wanted to clarify a couple things. I'm sorry, I was on mute before. So, if calling ahead, we can't take your order. We can't place an order because we have to have payment in order to process an order. So the best way is to mail in your order ahead of time, and that way you can drop it off and we'll process it. But
can I jump in, Mark? I like to apologize. I did notice that I said that, and I had in my mind calling ahead just to make sure we had the tickets that you would like to have. So thank you for clarifying that, Mark.
Yeah, we've changed it so that we actually store all the tickets with us now. So, but the other one is the signature list. I noticed that you can upload that signed signature list on Zoom grants, and then you won't need to bring it in. Or mail it in. We can get it from Zoom grants. So that's another option that was not actually noted on the slide. That was it for me.
So Rebecca, are there any questions? Let me just double check here and see in the Q&A. So Mark, we have a question here. What is considered youth fare?
Hello.
Oh. Hello?
I'm going to mute Rebecca. I think she's having some.
Okay.
I think Rebecca's having some connection issues.
So Mark,
youth fare is currently the fare for youth is $1.50. So that would be that's the fare that they would pay.
The next.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The next question is: does the check have to be the exact dollar amount?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. The next question. Well, I haven't been monitoring the Q&A, so I want to make sure I don't miss
Can you all hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Sorry. It's Zoom. What can we say? Okay, so there are a few questions. So one of the questions that has come up twice now is, and especially thinking of COVID times, some programs are wondering if they can mail tickets to the folks they serve, who they would be distributing tickets to, whether that is allowable.
I think that's you guys. You have the tracking, the requirement for the signing.
Yes. So I think for folks who are thinking about mailing tickets, we would want to see in your policy and procedure document that you have thought through how to do that. Questions to ask yourself is, how do you confirm that somebody received it? Are you sending this via certified mail? If so, if there's a cost associated, how do you do that? What happens if the tickets get lost? And certainly you might want to consider how you prioritize that sort of option and whether it's an emergency situation or a standard practice. So that is something that we would want you to be thinking about and writing about. I would say the majority of agencies that are distributing tickets are distributing them through programs where there's a face-to-face-ish interaction. And so there would be probably little need across the board for projects to use a mail option. So that would need to be a really specific thing, and we encourage you to get some review from the bus ticket program around your policies and procedures. Okay, and then a follow-up question to the youth fairs. Can somebody please list the age range of youth fairs? So when is somebody no longer considered a youth and instead needs an adult ticket?
I believe it's 19, right, Mark?
That's correct.
So up until 19 years old, or at 19 you become an adult? You're considered an adult for adult
You're
tickets.
considered
Oh, sorry. Yeah, on your 19th birthday.
Yeah.
Okay. I do want to, this is a question that comes up. I don't know if it has come up on the chat at all, but we do have a LIFT fare, a low income fare, which is $1.50 for Metro. $1.50 tickets do not work for LIFT fare because the LIFT fare, the ordinance is written that the fare has to be, in order to get the low income fare, it has to be on an Orca LIFT card. The card can't be used as a flash pass and pay a fare. So in the case of somebody, they would be an adult card, adult fare.
Thank you. Okay. So we have a question here. This comes up, these are really programmatic type questions, but it comes up around ticketing. It's all policy procedure related. So one of the questions is there a recommendation or limit of how many tickets can be distributed? I believe this question is around to a single person. And so programmatically, an agency's distribution practices should have policies and prioritization behind it. It is likely the case that an agency's allocation award does not cover the full need within an agency for tickets that are being requested. So agencies are encouraged to think of fair and equitable practices around that. So the direct answer is no, there is not a limit to the number of tickets that can be distributed, and no, there is not a recommendation. But given a program or the clientele being served or the issues that are being prioritized, you can certainly reach out to the bus ticket program to get some feedback about whether your agency's proposed policies are more or less in line or make sense with like programs. Another question that came up is around staff that are mobile, such as community advocates or outreach workers. The question is it okay for them to keep a book of tickets with them so that they can distribute tickets to clients in community, like at meetings? And generally the answer is yes, that is okay. But what we would anticipate seeing in your policy and procedure is what your practice is for tracking what staff carry on hand and the ways that the rules that you have in place to ensure that ticket books don't go missing or aren't lost in the process. So that's something agencies should really be planning and accounting for. And their policies should have that there.
Rebecca?
Yes.
I wanted to say one thing about the previous question regarding if there's a limit to how many tickets can be distributed at one time. Something to be conscientious about and consider is that there's not an upper limit, but I think that if you're only giving out one ticket at a time, it is really possible that you're not providing a really significant benefit to anyone if they have to travel to come get a ticket. So I think it's good to just think about also how few tickets you're giving out and whether or not that actually is really makes sense for the people you're serving. So just think about the lower range as well, not just the top range.
Thank you. Okay, this is a question for Metro. And I'm going to use an acronym, but I'm hoping that the folks at Metro can explain what the acronym stands for. So the question is, are the RRFP the combo tickets? Or is the RRFP a combo ticket?
No, not at this time, it's not.
And can you share what RRFP stands for?
Sure, that's the Regional Reduced Fare Permit. That's for the senior and disabled populations.
Okay. Thank you. And then another question, this is a confirmation. So that question is, if someone mails in a check along with an order form to Metro for processing, can you confirm that they will receive a call from Metro to come and pick up the tickets? And I guess that question would be,
Yes.
they will receive a call from Metro. Okay. At the number listed on the form, I would imagine.
Yeah, they'll try to provide an email with, they'll send you that, excuse me, they'll email as well.
Okay. And I have more questions coming in, but they kind of are about the RRFP. So for the RRFP, could you just kind of in a couple sentences explain age range or what that process is, or perhaps we can provide people with a link for where they can learn more.
Sure, you can go on the Metro Transit. There's when you go on, you can click on accessibility and on the transportation, and there's a tab for regional reduced fare permits. We also for the age, it's 6 years and older that can qualify based on a disability. 5 and under, or under 6, we do not issue reduced fare permits because there's no fare needed for under 6. The seniors are, you need to be 65 or older. You can, if you're a senior and require a personal care attendant to ride with you, then they'll need to go through and get a regional disability regional reduced fare permit, because a personal care attendant is based on your ability to ride the bus alone. And so if you're a person that has a disability that you need a personal care attendant, your doctor fills that part out, and your card. This is where we always get the question. The personal care attendant, they don't get a disability card. The person with a disability gets the card, and on their card it says PCA, which is personal care attendant, because their care attendant could be anyone at any, a different person than one person. So that's why they are the ones that need it, and all they need to do is show their card with that, and then the person who rides with them doesn't pay a fare. And the regional reduced fare permits, there's no cost to get a permit, to apply for it. But there is a $3 charge to get a replacement card. So if you get a card, there's no charge, but if you lose it, it is $3 to replace it. And that's a regional policy that is out. That's not a Metro policy.
And can we get a time check? Are we at time or overtime?
We're actually, it's till 2:30 and it's only 2:02, so we have plenty of time, but I didn't necessarily anticipate we'd use the whole time. So.
Okay, I just want to check before I ask a couple more of these. So another question that came through for Metro is around, so it came up around the youth age range, and the person is asking if anyone will be checking IDs or if there's an expectation around that. And I think that kind of has to do more with fare enforcement. So we'll leave that for Metro.
Yeah, that's it. That would be fare enforcement. That would be checking if they're, and normally the fare enforcement is not usually checking ID. I mean, they're not, they don't, they shouldn't normally be, but they don't, they normally are there when they're checking is that there's a, there's a, like if they put the fare in and it says that they're a youth, but the driver can see that the person is 40 years old, 50 years old. They may say, the driver could say your fare is, you're still, you know, you need another $1.25. In which case, maybe that's when a fare inspector might come in to play. But yeah, if they're under, oh, that's the only time I guess, and then they would just need ID, which is required if you're over 16. But
And then I think we have another, I believe we have another question coming through shortly. But the question is there a tool bus tickets to be purchased via Orca card?
oh, well, that is a good. I believe that there's a question that asks if your agents would be interested in participating in studies with Orca, with the Orca cards, and we are currently doing that.